Hello to For Profile in Human Design, the Hermit Opportunist. In today's video, I'm featuring Canadian fashion icon Linda Lundström and her hilarious and awesome, fun ways of describing what it is like firsthand to be a 2-4. I interviewed her several years ago and I just loved this footage as I came across it recently. I did do 2 other videos featuring her, highlighting her as a Spenic projector, so you can check those out. But today I wanted to use her interview clips to highlight some of the main features of what it means to be a 2-4 profile. So if you are a 2-4 profile, then the 2 is your conscious side. So that means your personality and what you sort of consciously identify as is going to be more of the hermit, or the natural is another word used to describe the 2. And then your unconscious side is going to be the 4, which is the opportunist. So that's your body. Your body is going to be naturally kind of seeking out opportunities to influence people in your network and to externalize what you have inside of you to share. So right off the bat, we see quite a conundrum between these 2 different sides. The hermit is just naturally kind of wanting to be in their own thing, doing their thing, being talented and gifted at what they do, but maybe not even realizing it, just absorbed in whatever they're up to. And then the 4, your body is actually wanting to network, to spread the word, to get out your work to a wider audience. So you might even find that you end up bumping into people quite literally and having opportunities to influence people. So the 4 is a lot more of a social archetype than the 2. And as always, we find contradictions in our human design.
So a 2 is?
Yeah, it's called the natural or the hermit. So they like to be basically just doing their thing, whatever their thing is, and doing it, and it comes naturally to them. And
right.
They don't even want to know that it's extraordinary or special, like that they have a gift at it. They're just doing it.
That's so right. Like people say to me, so what's your business plan? What's your marketing plan? I'm going, I'm just going to do it, and then I'll tell you what the plan was. Is that it? Mm-hmm. Like I do it, and then if I have to document what I did, then I'll document what I did. But I'm not going to document it and then do it. That just doesn't make any sense to me at all. My natural gifts are in my hands and my feet. My hands, my brain, I feel like my brain is in my hands. Because I don't always think something out. Although I do sometimes, like sometimes I'm lying in bed and I'm just staring off into space, and my husband will say, I know you're working really hard right now, because I'm thinking about executing something and I'm trying to figure out the mechanics in my mind. But once I put my hands on something, whether it's a piece of fabric or a piece of shearling or a piece of fur or something that's very tactile and tangible, when I hold the scissors in my hand, it's almost like my scissors are guided to tell me what to cut, you know? And then after I've cut it, then I make a pattern. So most people, they make the pattern and then they cut it. With me, I cut it and then I make the pattern. So it's kind of a little bit backwards, which means that very hard to explain to people what you're doing. Exactly what you just said, right?
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That's so cool.
Okay, I'm just going to get some filler for this hamburger. So I think it would be
Never heard you say that before about your...
Tell us a bit about alone time for you. Like, how do you need alone time in order to create?
My ultimate alone time is when I'm swimming. So I've got my goggles on. My head is in the water. I'm breathing, but I'm basically deprived of I've got a lot of senses going on, but it's not, I'm not looking over there and I'm not looking over there. I'm not going, oh, let me turn the light. You know what I mean? I'm in the water. I'm submerged in the water like I'm being baptized every time I go for a swim. It's like, it's really an altered state of consciousness to me. I get a rhythm going. I feel like I'm in the, you know, when your water breaks, when you have a child, your water breaks. Well, I feel like I'm that child in that water, and in the womb, like really in the womb of Mother Earth when I'm swimming. And I've got a sign over there that says you're only one swim away from a good mood, because whenever I get myself, like I suffer from anxiety, I get myself all anxious about certain things. And Joel will say to me, just go for a swim, because it calms and soothes me right down. So that's my ultimate alone time. I love that time in the morning when you're not asleep, but you're not fully awake. And so your conscious mind isn't operating yet, and you're not editing anything out, but yet you're not asleep, so you remember everything. And it's I don't know, there's probably a name for that state, like
liminal.
Oh, really? Liminal. Well, that's when I get some really good ideas, and I solve some problems, and it's like free. It's like there's no boundaries. Everything is just like kind of like up there and floating around. I know it sounds weird, but and I'm alone. I mean, even if my husband is beside me, he might be asleep, or he might be, but I feel really in a again, almost like an altered state of consciousness when and that's when I had my vision.
Exactly.
It was in that state when I had my vision for a product that I made in my company. I was visited with the vision at that time, and it was a recurring, so it happened more than once, and I was compelled to make the thing that I saw in my vision, and it ended up being a multi-million dollar product and family of products for our company that really was the foundation of our success. It was called La Parka. And those Canadians, those of you who remember La Parka back in the 90s and the early 2000s, you'll remember that every schoolyard had a teacher on yard duty at recess in the middle of winter wearing a La Parka. Wow. Because again, it was cold, it was warm, it was gorgeous and romantic looking, and it was multifunctional, and it just became a selling phenomenon. I was so blessed that I had that vision. Thank you.
Awesome. When did you realize that you were unusually gifted or talented?
Such a good question. I think it happened when people would say to me, "How did you do that?" People would say, well, "How did you do that?" I go, "I don't know, I just did it." Like, I think some of my competitors in the apparel industry would often say, they would say, "The hell does she do that?" You know? I got a big kick out of that because I didn't know how I did it, so for sure they didn't know how they did it. And I don't want to sound like I'm falsely modest or anything like that, but I seriously, I remember there was a time when there was a fashion show, and we were doing a fashion show, and and the fashion show was like in 2 days, and everything had to be finished and accessorized and coordinated and assigned to a model and everything like that. And I had this idea for this coat that I really wanted to get into the show. and they're literally fitting the models, and I'm there molding the fabric with my hands and making a pattern, and within 2 hours I had a finished garment, and I ran into where they were fitting the models, and I said, "Look at this," and everyone went, and they opened the show. It was the opening of the show, called the envelope coat. It was simple, very, very simple, but it just had an architecture to it and a shape to it that was just, and it just came together like that. And the people that were fitting the models said, "How did you do that?" There was no coat 2 hours ago, and now there's a coat that's opening the show. So, what was your question?
How did you realize you were unusually gifted or talented?
When people started, when people said, like, "How the hell did you do that?"
Yeah, in the human design lingo, that's called, like, the two is being called out. They don't actually see their gifts until someone recognizes it. It's kind of like the projector, but
yeah,
they say, "Hey, that thing that you're doing is really amazing."
exactly. They don't realize it themselves. They're just totally, or I'm just totally so immersed in what I'm doing that, yeah. And it's like when I was 3 and I was playing with my mom's sewing machine, and the ladies would come to visit my mom and they'd say, "You're letting that kid play with your sewing machine?" Now, you know, my dad was an underground miner, and so it's not like we had a lot of money for a kid to be playing with a prized possession that my mom ordered from me as catalog. But I was really fortunate that I had a mom and a dad, actually, that didn't create a lot of expectations for, like, how, like, I think I got more recognition from my family for how well I was able to help my dad skin a deer than the mark that I got on an exam in school. Because my parents were not educated, and yet they were very, you know, relatively successful. So, you know, my dad used to say, "You can educate a fool and he'll still be a fool." I had a lot of problems with our education system because the education system was not designed for people like me. The education system was designed for people who could retain facts and information, and then who could plan it and then do it. And that's not the way I work. So consequently, I didn't do well in school, and my mom and dad didn't care, really, because they cared more about what I could do. And I'm very grateful for that, because it ended up, you know, I ended up doing, do you think I think I've made these hamburgers mixed enough? I think so. Okay, time to start something else. I think the bottom line is that I just love making things with my hands. I love putting in effort and having tangible results. And sometimes I think I told you this before, but I sometimes feel my brains are in my hands. And when your brains are in your hands, you can make a lot of mistakes because sometimes your brain takes over and wants to tell your hands what to do. But when they're working together, oh, it's just like magic happens.
How have opportunities come to you through your network? How have you seen networking play out in your career?
Well, see, I don't call it networking. I kind of have a problem with that word networking. Because it sounds, to me, it sounds very strategic and, yeah, and kind of like...
Contrived?
Yes.
Forced?
Yes, like there's a, you know, we're networking, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it kind of gives me the creeps, actually. I think what you've just pointed out to me that I do is I love sharing. If I meet somebody really interesting, I want to tell other people about them, right? Mm-hmm. Now, that's not networking. That's just me being curious about people and getting excited about their unique talents and abilities and going, wow, look at this, and showing somebody else who also has unique abilities, who is special and who has captured my curiosity. And I just go, I want those two people. Those people are going to really have lots to talk about. So I'm just fascinated by people because they're all so different. Everyone's got unique gifts. But I'm not good at cocktail parties. What's that about? I just...
No small talk.
I can't stand small talk. I'm not good at it. You know, I like meaningful conversations, and they're just not, it's not the time and place at a cocktail party for them. So I'm usually the person over in the corner talking to the waiter. If I go to some place like that, I end up gravitating to the person who's over on the side and feels uncomfortable being there as well, and I go over to them and go, I hate these things. They go, yeah, me too. We end up, you know, and I think I do identify more with the wait staff at a cocktail party than I do with the people at the cocktail party. I have a lot of respect for people, and I don't know if this has to do with human design or what, but I have a lot of respect for people who do the work, you know, like sewing machine operators and people who actually make the clothing. They have a lot of respect in my eyes.
I love what Linda's saying here about not enjoying networking, and yet look at how she's at the same time describing how she loves to connect. And that is truly the genuine connection of the fourth line. It's not about superficial networking. It's true friendship. That's really this actual brotherhood and sisterhood that's real. That's what the fourth line is about. So to me, what she's describing is that she finds her people in whatever room she is in, and she's more of a grounded, get your hands in the earth kind of person. So naturally she's going to want to connect with the people who are really the doers in the room.
I guess a lot of your clients have been very loyal.
If I was a strategic person, I would find out why, you know, do a marketing study or something like that. But it'd be interesting to find out what the basis of that loyalty is, because you're right, we call them Lundström loyalists, and you know, they were a really important part of our business, because it was like they used to call it a healthy addiction. They would buy something and then they really liked the reaction they got from people, so they buy something else, and the next thing you know, they've got a whole closet full and they're deciding they should write me a letter and tell me all about the things that they bought and how much they like them and stuff like that, which is really fun to have that interaction, you know, with the customers.
I'll just say personally, I really love this profile. I've met so many incredibly talented people that have this beautiful talent of the 2 and then the warmth and friendliness of the 4. So I think it's a truly wonderful combination. And if you have this combination, then I really hope that you're making the best use of this gift that you have to be talented at what you're up to, and also to share it with warmth and friendliness out into the world. I think Linda is just such an exquisite example of the natural gifts of the 2 line. So beautiful. My goodness, I'm emotional today. I have my moon time right now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give Linda some love in the comments. And as always, the description box is full of my beautiful offerings. Check them out. They are all life-changing depending on what you want and need right now. And I look forward to seeing you again soon here on my channel. Bye.